5 years ago, I was harassed and publicly embarrassed by a YouTube prankster on the streets of London. The response, however, led me to change my life in a dramatic manner. This is my story.
I'm controller of Planet X.
3-3.
And I've invited you here to discuss something that's very important.
It was January 2018 when the incident with Jack Jones happened. I was on a university trip with students who I had just met earlier that year. I went through a lot of bullying before university, so it was a good chance to make new friends and push myself out of my comfort zone. We were on our break when we decided to walk by Westminster. As we walked, we encountered a guy holding a phone, screaming nonsense. It wasn't long before he ran up to us and pointed the phone at our group.
Excuse me. Is there any chance you want to come on a date with me?
At first, I tried to remove myself from the situation. In retrospect, I know that he targeted me because to him I wasn't, well, the best looking person within the group. An easy victim with low self-confidence, who was easy to make fun of. I was surprised, however, when the video was released online, that not a lot of that sentiment carried across. Sure, you had a few people who referred to me as fat, but most of the comments were dunking on him for being extremely unfunny. Unfortunately though, this didn't improve any self-confidence issues I had at the time. Being the center of attention was extremely horrifying. I felt that I needed to stand up for myself, but also gain a bit of clout. I wasn't going to let this opportunity go without gaining something on my end first. So I made a response video.
Hi, my name's Owen, and I want to explain how Jack Jones tried to harass me.
The response to the video was initially fantastic. People dogpiling on Jack Jones. And then, soon after, a famous YouTuber slid into my DMs. Keemstar.
Now, come to find out, the fat kid in the video, maybe I shouldn't call him fat, but whatever. He's a pretty cool kid. I've been DMing him on Twitter. He uploaded a response to this titled, How Jack Jones Tried to Harass Me.
Say what you will about Keemstar. Yes, he gives a platform to abusers. And yes, he actively assists in creating a vile culture around YouTube, which adds to some of the most horrific abuse that I've ever seen on the platform. But at the time, it was special. He was the only large-scale YouTuber that ever told me that my content was good, that I could potentially make it in the industry. I didn't care if there was any truth or authenticity in his words. The fact that he said it was extremely positive to how I saw my work at the time. But in retrospect, let's have another look at that video.
Now, come to find out, the fat kid in the video.
This is the part that still stays in my mind to this day. What really sticks with me is this one comment being said to hundreds and thousands of people, that I was the fat kid in the video. To me, that is what I would be forever known as. That 15 minutes of fame that I was soaking in would only be remembered as, oh, hey, do you remember the fat kid in the Jack Jones video? That would be my reputation, and I hated it. The amount of positive messages that I got was astounding, but I was torn. Would I be okay being seen as the person who stood up to bullies, but in the end, just a fat kid? As I continued my journey through university, the comments about being the Jack Jones guy slowly decreased. I was able to build my confidence and make friends that I still hold dearly to this day. On the terms of weight, however, it was a different story. I was never too good at controlling my portion sizes, and being a university student meant that my meals were usually quite low quality. This all eventually culminated in 2020, where the COVID-19 pandemic left me to reach my peak weight. No exercising, getting takeaways every week, and drinking way too much cheap booze.
It's Cheese Boy.
No more cheese.
Fuck!
Luckily for this video essay anyway, I can give you an exact showcase of what I looked like during this time. Me and my housemates were film students, and filmed a comedy pilot for a sitcom, whilst a terrible pandemic raged across the world. But as you can see here, even though I weighed 250 pounds, I was enjoying the time with my housemates, and I didn't feel a need to make any major lifestyle changes.
Holy shit.
Oh my god, what? What?
Oh, and there's a goddamn chicken stuck right up your nose.
What? Why? How?
There's no time to explain. There's a goddamn chicken up your nose.
Just as an aside, that's a key thing I wanted to point out. Even though I weighed more than I ever had in my life, I was still happy. You can be obese and happy at the same time. This is something that I constantly see in weight loss discourse. Not everyone that is fat is naturally unhappy, or even unhealthy for that matter. You can be both. I, on the other hand, was fat and unhealthy. I was encountering various health issues on a regular basis, and I had terrible lifestyle habits. Eventually, this all had to come to an end. I moved back to my parents' house in the middle of the pandemic. I had no job, not a lot of friends to see, and nothing to do because the South Coast is one dying high street away from total collapse.
But there are a few town centres that are in desperate straits and haven't managed to get any funding. Can my right honourable friend assure me that future funds will be available?
I will make sure that she gets a meeting with the Minister for Levelling Up at the earliest opportunity.
So this itch formed within me. Every time I woke up, I looked in the mirror and I was subconsciously linking myself back to that phrase. The fat kid. This itch grew, like, day by day, until eventually I told myself, if I continue like this, I will probably die of a heart attack by the age of 40. This is me after my first run. I was exhausted, dizzy, and on the verge of throwing up. In retrospect, I'd only run for a total of 8 minutes out of 30. The Couch to 5K program was extremely helpful. Because I had no job, I was able to dedicate my entire day-to-day life to reducing my weight. This, of course, was helped alongside counting calories and being able to game the system with the use of my Fitbit. Seeing these numbers go down on a chart really improved my confidence. The running continued, and as time went on, my stamina increased. I could eventually run for a solid 30 minutes. One thing that did surprise me, however, was how random strangers treated me on my runs as time went on. I remember on my first couple of runs, some guys shouted "fat fuck" from their car as I ran, and in another instance, I was being filmed by 2 teenage girls from their car. But as I lost weight, people were actually getting more comfortable talking to me. I remember on one of my last weeks of living in the South Coast, I was stopped mid-run by an elderly couple who said that they had been watching me for the last few months and were hugely proud of how much weight I'd lost. One thing that I also see in weight loss discourse is people treat you differently when you're fat. Almost as if you're inhuman at times. Eventually, I managed to get my first ever job, working as a junior video editor in the video games industry. This was my dream job, but my self-confidence was at an all-time low. I kept telling myself that I was lucky to get my dream job so early in my career, when in reality, it was because I was going above and beyond, putting hard work into myself. I was so used to making excuses for my actions that it affected how I saw myself. I currently weigh 165 pounds. And as of 2020, I have lost 80 pounds. This is great, but I want to share something with you. I initially wanted to share this video when I reached my goal weight of 150 pounds. I was so set on reaching that goal because according to the BMI chart, that is when I will be officially classed as normal weight according to my height. Yeah, I'm a short king, I know. However, am I disappointed with myself? Well, no, not really, because it's still a huge step nonetheless. I've also been going to the gym a lot recently, doing weightlifting, building muscle mass, which, you know, offsets a lot of that fat loss. I should be happy with how far I've come. Any weight loss change is positive change, no matter how little or how large. Oh, look at this. Look at this. This is so fucking dumb. And I think that brings out a greater point. Having that body confidence has really improved how I see myself on a regular basis. I love how I look now whenever I step in front of a mirror. I have a self-confidence that I haven't had in any other parts of my life, and it feels great. I'm currently growing a mustache for Movember. It looks, okay, I guess, but honestly, I'm just glad to be doing it for supporting men's mental health. You know, I've been on a mental health journey my entire year, and this is a good way to give back. You know, I would have been too afraid to make this video previously because of how I looked. I wouldn't have even turned the camera on if I looked like this. So having that body confidence, it's honestly astounding. I feel like I've gained more years on my life, that I can walk up and down the stairs without being out of breath. It's a feeling that I find difficult putting into words. I feel like I've become a completely different person. Recently, I took part in my first ever 10k run, and I had the privilege to be doing it to raise funds for Roundabout, a local charity in Sheffield set on tackling youth homelessness. I was able to raise a total of £560, which absolutely blew me away. Not only that, I was able to run the full distance in 55 minutes, which was a full 15 minutes below my personal best. I still can't get over it, and I don't think I would have been able to do it without the amount of work that I've put into myself. But that's enough about me for the time being. Let's get back to the core concept here. Everyone's favourite internet discourse. YouTube drama. What I have learned during this process is also very interesting, and kind of unique to this weight loss story. I was initially worried that people might have seen the Keemstar video and Jack Jones drama as a trivial incident, something extremely petty. But that's simply not the case, especially for people who have gone through these issues firsthand. Being put on a stage where your body is commented on for thousands of people has created some deep-rooted trauma that I was surprised to have only found out about recently. It led me into a state of having a huge lack of self-confidence in my body image. That the opinions of thousands of strangers on the internet mattered more than the opinions that I had towards myself. One of the key things I've realized is I should be in charge of my own body. I shouldn't have to care about what other people think of me, because at the end of the day, my opinion of myself is what matters the most. So let's get to the point. I no longer see myself as the fat kid anymore, and I shouldn't have to care about whether others see me as that. People can always link me back to the Jack Jones incident, but what matters most is how I see myself. I love who I've become, and I'm completely valid in that. I am doing this video purely for me, and no one else. And you know what? That's completely justified. I am no longer the fat kid. I was 100% convinced that I would never get to the weight that I am now, nor have the self-confidence to talk about it in the manner that I'm doing now. At the end of it all, what I really want to say is, if you're having similar feelings about yourself that I am, just know that, as cheesy as it sounds, I believe you'll get through it. Thank you so much for watching this video. It really means a lot for people to listen to my story. If you're interested in more of my work, feel free to follow my socials at @theperkyriolu for more video essays in the future. In the meantime, I hope you have a great rest of your day. Have a good one.